Good morning, everyone. My name's Edward Kaingu Mwakizani. I work as a counselor at the Technical University of Mombasa in the Department of Student Services. Currently, I'm the in charge of the Guidance and Counseling section. I welcome all of you to this particular talk, mainly on suicide. Being September, when we actually observe Suicide Month, we are encouraging each and every one of us to understand a few things about suicide. So to start with, I will wish to, first of all, let my audience understand what suicide is all about. So basically, when we talk of suicide, we are looking at self-harm. This is the self-harm that is inflicted to oneself that may claim somebody's life. It may, because some do commit suicide, they end up dying, which is so unfortunate because this is a preventable disease. However, there are some that commit suicide, but eventually they are rescued from it and they go back to life, as I have witnessed in the course of my career as a counselor. And I believe this is a very interesting topic, and majority of us would like to know what exactly happens to these people before, because they are people like us. They have a life, be it at a parenting level, be it at a daughter or a son level, be it at a work level, be it in church, be at large, the community at large and the society. So the other thing that is important for us to understand is also this issue of suicide being a disorder or a mental illness. The answer to that is no, simply because suicide is associated to other mental illnesses, including depression, including psychosis, substance use disorder. So those are the main mental illnesses that can result to a suicide situation. Now, it is important for us to understand what happens to us, that it might reach a point whereby one finds him or herself into committing suicide. And this is very important to all of us. And here at the Technical University of Mombasa, we want the fresh students or the new students that have joined us in this September to also have an understanding of this, and also do have the necessary skills and knowledge, or the coping mechanisms that they might put into place so that to avert this very unfortunate disease. Now, human beings, we are wired in a manner that we constantly work towards pleasure while minimizing tension, while minimizing pain. Basically, that's how we are wired. And most of the times, this principle works very, very unconsciously. We might not be able to pick that as we live our life in our rivers of life, we constantly work towards gaining pleasure while at the same time avoiding pain. So that principle cuts across to all human beings. And I will just give a small illustration of a newborn baby. When this newborn baby perceives that he or she is going to starve, they will always scream, they will always make noise, so that the environment can respond to their starvation. And once they are fed, they go back to normal. They start smiling, and it's like the screaming stops, and then they go back to normal. So that is actually the nature of all human beings. But what happens, especially when we fail to meet the pleasure that we are yearning for? What it means is that, and the pleasure that the pain that I'm talking about here, it's not any other thing other than painful memories, disturbing thoughts, emotions that are also disturbing or painful, a flashback that triggers the difficulties that we've gone through in life. We can talk of traumas, we can talk of distress. So those are the pains that we constantly avoid, shame, guilty, and so on and so forth. So when we are unable to turn off those thoughts, those emotions, those experiences that are distressing, that are life-threatening, that cause discomforts in our moods and so on and so forth, then the body has a natural mechanism of dealing with that. And this mechanism, most of the time, is very irrational. And we call that poor coping mechanisms, whereby some sets into dissociation. When we talk of dissociation, it's when certain domains of the brain cease from operating. And then as a result of that, their thinking is actually impaired. Even some go to an extent of inability to recognize places, inability to live a normal life, like maybe putting on clothing in the morning, taking bath, as a result of the dissociation. Some set into denial, and that's where the biggest problem is, because the moment you deny the reality of life, the moment you deny the aspects of our life, then the chances of setting into depression, psychosis, and substance use are very high. And they come in as a coping mechanism. And as I said earlier on, this coping mechanism might not be effective. So it comes in as an escape route. So in the process of escaping from the reality, not in a rational way, these ineffective coping mechanism can land somebody into depression. So let me talk about depression a little bit so that we understand how does depression lead somebody into a suicidal condition or suicidal situation. Most of the times, depressed minds, to start with, they look very rude in the presence of other people. They look unruly. And it's like they look lazy, unruly, lazy, rude. So, and depression can attack anyone, regardless of your age, the young people, the youth, and even the adults. So if it is at the workplace level, the colleague might look very lazy, that is, they might be coming late. And then there is that element of absenteeism or truancy. And then lazy in the sense that they might be missing deadlines. For students, the same in class, they are not able to submit assignments in good time. So this is the mindset of a depressed mind. But besides that, what is happening in these people? One, there is that sudden loss of interest or motivation. For instance, the student might even lose interest to attend lectures. That is number one. Two, as a result of that, they tend to isolate themselves from others. Okay, that's very critical. And then the other thing is on their sleeping patterns. The sleeping patterns can change in a manner that they either oversleep or they undersleep. So both ways, it's actually a symptom of a depressed mindset. And then the eating patterns also might increase or even decrease. Both ways also explains a mindset that is depressed. And then the other thing which is very important, especially for our university students, is the ability to concentrate. Depressed minds find it very, very difficult to concentrate. When they do a comparison, they might be struggling with things that previously they were no longer struggling with. Simple tasks, simple assignments, they find themselves struggling. Other than that, there is also this element of helplessness, okay? And then finally, at a severe stage, they have a thinking or a thought that they will be better off dead. Now that's where the suicide now comes in. To many, it doesn't strike direct to go for suicide. From experience that I've actually witnessed with in my interaction with my clients, most of them do find other ways of escaping, like getting into alcoholism, smoking, chewing mirror, chewing mogoka, and so on and so forth. And then in the process, they find themselves into other problems, drug-induced psychosis or substance use disorders. So sometimes by the time they actually commit suicide, they have multiple mental disorders or mental illnesses as a result of looking for ways of putting off. In fact, I can remember a number of students whom at first or initially during the conversation, they expressed that they are actually undergoing through either a depression in their life or anxiety. And as a result of that, they looked for a pleasant feeling. So you can put in quotes that word pleasant, meaning they were actually running away from a painful experience. And when we talk of painful experience, they can be both natural and artificial. Artificial situations that happens in life, like when we talk of loss of a loved one. Loss of a loved one is actually a very, very painful thing. And sometimes majority of us do not grieve properly, do not have time to mourn the loss of their loved ones. And as a result of that, now it remains in them. And with the triggers in life, as they continue with their life, whatever they are triggered with flashback on matters of loss and grief, then the whole memory remains fresh in them. It doesn't matter how long it has taken them since the loss of their loved one. So that's a very good example of a very natural sources. However, there are some that are artificial, man-made. When we talk of child abuse, when we talk of early childhood maltreatment, abandonment, rejection, constant conflicts and rifts within the family, divorce and separation, actually, it is quite wide. It is quite wide. So those are some of the things that usually might be going through in somebody's mind. And unfortunately, this might happen at the same time as they get triggered in different occasions. It can be triggered in class. It can be triggered in the news. The triggers can come from the newspaper, even in a peer discussion. So as a result of those triggers, these students, they find themselves struggling. And it's like, why am I struggling so much? How can I put this off? So those are some of the questions. These memories that are very painful, that are very difficult to comprehend. Why is my mom separated with my father? And sometimes, let me just emphasize on this, because from experience, the damage is from the family. From experience with my clients, the major damage is from the household level. Because I remember of one of our students, I won't disclose their details, but this student went to a level of a psychosis. So it happened that when he gets overwhelmed, then the psychosis now takes over. I talked of psychosis, I talked of substance use disorder, and I talked of depression, and I also talked of dissociation. So when he's dissociated, he actually assumes that he's a better person than he is. Okay? And by that, he was moving from one office to another, actually telling the occupants of those offices that he is the appointed personnel to occupy that office. a condition known as grandioses. Okay, and as a result of that, we actually took care of that student. He went for medication, he was treated. So the moment he came back, now we had a conversation. So during the conversation, he narrated a very painful experience that he has actually experienced at the family level. What happened is that there was separation between the father and the mother. And as a result of that, the father went ahead, got married. And then the mother also went ahead and remarried. So the challenge was the moment they are with their mother, the stepfather mistreats them. And then when they go to the father, and they go to the mother, no, to the father now, the stepmother also mistreats them. And as a result of that, to him, this was so overwhelming. The loss of that fatherly and motherly love to them created a very huge gap in their life. And he really, he was in pain, and he really expressed his anger during the session. And by the end of the session, we've monitored a very good progress in his life. And as we speak, he's currently graduated with his degree program. So what am I emphasizing here? The emphasis is there are numerous sources of distress, painful memories, difficulties in their psychological difficulties due to situations that are really overwhelming to them. And at some point, without the necessary help, without the appropriate support, these people might end up into other escape routes that might even be very harmful to them in the process of searching for pleasant feelings, as I explained earlier on. And what are these pleasant feelings that are looking for? They are actually working towards putting off whatever is disturbing them. And how can they do that easily? Of course, when you take a puff, you feel much better. According to them, when you take some alcohol, you feel much better. And if that doesn't work, because of course the truth is smoking, drinking doesn't put off the disturbance, doesn't do away with the difficulties emotionally, psychologically. Instead, it gives them a short-term relief. Okay, and there are those who won't drink, there are those who won't smoke, but they just decide to do what we call self-harm. They can just take a razor and actually work on their skin properly. I encountered a student who has actually done that severally on both of his hands. Some they will knock the wall. They will knock the wall several times. Some they'll just be aggressive, really aggressive. It's like a timed bomb, and you can also think of the balloon effect at that level. So all those are some of the things that do take place with these people that are likely, due to the risk factors that they are going through in their life, to commit suicide. Not all of them, but a few. And unfortunately, the ones that do end up committing suicide is the male gender compared to the female gender. So I think there is also need for us to copy from the female gender. What is it that minimizes the chances of committing suicide compared to men? So that's the at least a brief overview of the genesis of suicide, what it is, the risk factors, and actually what is the psychology of the depressed mindset. But most importantly, our students and the community at large need to understand that suicide is a preventable disease. It is a condition that can be prevented. And we also need to understand The people that are in suicidal tendencies, authors, what do they need? First of all, they need a person who can listen to them. They need a listening ear. The moment you listen to them, you've begun the process of assisting them. You've begun the process of helping them out of this life-claiming situation. That is one. Two, we are available as counselors, and as we promised you during orientation, that we are here to work with our students, all our students. And in the process of working with you, you can locate us at the Student Services Department in the Guidance and Counseling Office. Other than that, now that the student has many students, there are resources available online that our students can make use of anytime. And what you need is just your telephone, handset, that is, whereby these are free call lines, whereby you can call anytime you feel like distressed, you feel like losing it all, you feel like losing hope, you feel like you are better, you're better off dead. Sometimes it's good to have some early, to actually capture the early warning signs of these conditions, like the ones that I have mentioned. Very, very important. We need to monitor our sleeping patterns. And of course, currently there is this problem of the social media and the smartphones and so on and so forth. So sometimes it brings confusion on our sleeping patterns because people nowadays spend plenty of time on their phones. So there is need for us to regulate and make sure that the standard sleeping hours, we actually are there too. So the moment you realize that there are fluctuations in your eating, in your appetite, in your sleeping patterns, okay, you've lost motivation for instance, you are a sporting person, all of a sudden you don't feel like going to the field, you see. So those are some of the things that most of the time they set in unnoticed. And as a result of that, now they gradually move from mild, okay, to moderate, and then to severe levels. So it is at the severe level that we find people committing suicide. So in order for us to win this war, it requires a teamwork of all of us within the institution. When I talk of all of us, this is war that we can only win when we collaborate. I like what the corporate office is doing, Technical University of Mombasa corporate office is doing, whereby whatever we do in our guidance and counseling office is now captured and availed to the entire TUM fraternity. Then the other stakeholders, key stakeholders are the students, the staff, and then the security, the management of the university. We bring our efforts together to assist the students. I like what is already going on when students present with psychosis or behaviors that they are not comprehending in some situations. Most of them are referred to us. And that is the way to go, because we are in a process of providing both preventive measures as well as for those who are already into it, we provide the treatment and the referrals. So the moment we intensify the process of referring these students either to us and even to external facilities that they can get help, then we are in the process of winning this war. And before I conclude, as I mentioned that there are these resources that we can make use of other than what I have talked about. There are these resources that you can make use of, and these resources are toll-free helplines. Toll-free helplines that are established by both the government and then non-governmental organizations to combat mental illnesses, to combat substance use, and so on and so forth. So when you actually realize that you have either any of the symptoms that we've been talking about, do not hesitate either to come to our offices at the Guidance and Counseling Office for help, or you can contact these numbers. Let me read them for you. The very first one is 0800 72 05 87. The second number is 0800 72 03 10. The third one is 1192, and the fourth one 0800 22 then 0 0 0 0. So I repeat the numbers. Number 1, 0800 72 05 87. The second toll-free line, 0800 72 03 10. The third toll-free line, 1192. And then the fourth one, 0800 22 0 0 0 0. Do not die in silence. The government has come out to assist us. Non-governmental organizations have come out to help us. You are not alone. In Tum, you are not alone. Approach the nearest person close to you. Come to the Guidance and Counseling Office. We are also training peer educators as from 23rd to 25th of this month. We've recruited almost 120 TUM students at the main campus, Kwale and Lamu. So next week we are training peer counselors or mentorship champions, also to cascade this information, the information on how to prevent mental illnesses, whereby we will have experts, external experts, to talk to our students, to interact with them on how we can actually be able to prevent mental illnesses and bring to an end the suicidal tendency in Technical University of Mombasa. And with that, I thank you all and have a lovely day.